Hello and welcome to Fog. I'm Fred and today we have a very special video for you. Now, just in case that you have been living under a rock without any internet access and no electricity, I'm just gonna go briefly over the general gist of this crazy story about FIFA that entails the falling out between EA Sports and the world's football governing body, FIFA. Basically, a few months ago, there was some news released that both EA and FIFA were renegotiating an extension to their over 20-year partnership, but that there were some issues that they couldn't get over. As far as I remember, when I first saw the news, I'm pretty sure I remember reading that FIFA wanted something like $2 billion for either 10 or 20 years contract for EA to be able to keep the FIFA license, or it was something like that anyway. I can't quite actually remember the exact amount or length of contract that was being discussed or disputed, so I'm sorry if that's a little vague or factually wrong, but that was the first bit of news that I remember reading about this whole squabble thing between two of the richest corporations in the world. Then after that first bit of news came out over the last few months, I also saw that apparently EA's current license was to expire after the 2022 World Cup, and that after which they would no longer be making FIFA games, and that FIFA were going to sell the license to a different developer or other developers, and that apparently 2K Games were front runners and might be the ones that might take over and start making the new FIFA games. And finally, in the last week or so, we've had EA Sports officially announce on Twitter that in July of 2023 they will be launching their brand new football game, which is titled EA Sports FC. Now, my quick thoughts on this whole thing. Firstly, I can't believe that this partnership between EA and FIFA is going to come to an end, given that it has existed for so long, since the beginning, since the very first FIFA game, which was FIFA 94, which I played on the Mega Drive, or it might have been the Master System. I can't quite remember. But I do believe that this could be very good for football games in general, because no longer will there be a monopoly, so to speak, held by EA when it comes to all the real names and kits and logos. Because, you know, we have Konami making PES, we have EA making this new EA Sports FC game. We've also got another game coming soon called the UFL, which will be free to play, plus whoever else makes more games. And we've got someone taking over the license from FIFA, which will also make a football game. So my point is, straight away, there's all this competition, which is so healthy, and it's only going to lead to better and better football games. The more competition there is, the more developers work hard to create better games, which is exactly what we've been missing for so long, as we've only really had EA and Konami, but EA having a complete monopoly when it comes to real names and things. And as we can see, that has led to football games from these two developers not really change much, and even in a way becoming even worse in recent years. So I think this breakup between EA and FIFA is definitely good and will definitely be very healthy for the improvement of football games in general. We'll now go over the information on the new FIFA coming out this year. Basically, EA will be making their last FIFA game, which will be FIFA 23, and that should come out as per usual around September, October time. Now, I don't think that FIFA 23 will be all that great. I think that as it's their last FIFA, it'll just be like a slight upgrade on FIFA 22, because I honestly believe EA are now completely focused on their new EA Sports FC game. And one thing that I particularly think could really potentially be the case is that EA have been holding off on implementing major technological improvements into FIFA gameplay in order to always have some kind of new USP. This is unique selling point, in case you don't know what that means, every single year with each new FIFA. But that where that's now coming to an end, I think we could potentially see their new EA Sports FC game come out with some incredible new mechanics that we've never seen from EA, and that could mean an amazing game is on the way. Who knows? But I do definitely believe FIFA 23 is probably not going to be great. I believe it will feature the Qatar World Cup, and I think it will have crossplay, but I do believe at the moment that is just a rumor. Next, I want to talk about the new franchise for whoever gets the FIFA license. The rumor is, as I mentioned before, 2K Games will very possibly be the ones that take over from EA and will now be making the yearly FIFA games. Of course, 2K Games are already heavily involved in sports games, so it could be very feasible as an option for FIFA. However, in my opinion, I do think the best business model for the FIFA licenses would actually be to allow every developer to pay an amount to get the licenses instead of just one single developer, whatever that amount might be. What I mean by this is, let's say FIFA wanted $2 billion for 10 years from EA, right? So as an example, let's say if they went with, I don't know, 100 or 200 million for 3 or 4 years instead, but you sell that to every developer making football games, potentially FIFA could end up making a lot more money because they're going to be charging less, but selling to more developers. And we as customers would stand to gain from that because every football game would come with all the licenses, which would make for much better and healthier competition. So my opinion is that I just hope it won't just be one single developer that gets all the licenses, and that all football games coming out come out with all the real names and all the kits and all the logos and all that sort of stuff. That would be great and could be more profitable for FIFA. Let's see what happens. Finally, just a quick note on the whole new EA Sports FC game. Of course, the rumors are that it will be free to play and cross-play. I think we can all agree that the future of football games are indeed coming with a free-to-play business model. Konami are, of course, the very first to take the leap, and obviously they did receive huge criticism as the overall gameplay and graphical quality was just very poor, but they certainly have a base that they can build upon, and that does definitely give them a slight advantage and upper hand over their competition, which includes EA Sports FC. Obviously, EA knows how to make football games. They have been doing that for nearly 30 years, but as we've seen with PES, having all the licenses does make a tremendous difference, and it is my opinion that EA will finally get to see just how many people only play their game because it came with all the real names and kits and logos and so on. At the end of the day, I'm excited for this new era of football games. It'll for sure be interesting to see how it all plays out. Casual fans that have been buying FIFA every year just so they can play with their mates, and also parents that mindlessly buy FIFA every year for their kids without any knowledge of how it is actually used for mild gambling, they'll hopefully have better choices to make, and they'll look into it before just buying any old game. That's it from me. Let me know what you think about all this stuff that's going on, obviously in the comments below. I appreciate your watching. Thank you very much for that, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.